You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Tu es l'image de Dieu.
I hold you in my heart.
Tu es l'image de l'amour.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Tu sei la luce di Dio.
I hold you in my heart.
Tu sei il volto dell'amore.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of love. The face of love. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are my family. You are my family. You are the face of love. The face of love. You are the face of God. The face of God. I hold you in my heart. You in my heart. You are a part of me. A part of me. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God.
Eres la luz de Dios.
I hold you in my heart.
Eres la cara del amor.
You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of sei la luce di Dio. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. L'image de Dieu. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. La luz de Dios. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. The face of God. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
You are the face of God. Boy, if that doesn't put a smile on your face, doesn't it? Yeah. You know, I was just sitting there and imagining. I said, I want baby pictures of each and every one of you, and we're going to put it to that song. Yeah, definitely. It just kind of made me feel so loving, because we are the face of God. That's who we are. We are the very expression of God, and we look so very different, you know, and yet we are one. The great mystery. The great mystery. There's only one of us expressing in so many different ways. So welcome, welcome Facebook family and YouTube family and all of us that are here. Happy Valentine's Day. Turn around and say Happy Valentine's Day to our Facebook family. Happy Valentine's Day. Yes. And please turn around and greet your neighbor. Wish them well. Happy Valentine's Day. Namaste. It's good to be here with you. Oh gosh, I cannot tell you how much I miss our hugs and our times together. So when we first are able to do that, it will be a pretty extended service, because we're going to deserve to be able to hug each other once again. So those of you that are visiting, thank you for visiting with us, Patricia and Abraham. We have a new guest today. And those of you that keep coming back, thank you for being here with us. It's a great joy. And I see this ocean of pinks and reds, and looks really good. So I'm going to go right into the service. We have a really good service planned for you today. And I know that some of you want to go out with your sweethearts or sweetheart yourself somehow. So I would try not to keep you here too long. So Unity of Citrus is a positive path for spiritual living that is centered in God. And our mission here is such a beautiful mission, is to create a loving, healing, accepting community. And we do that by practicing our principles, living in our principles, and offering classes and all the other things that help to transform our lives. So, let us gently now center our hearts and our mind. Ask you to get very comfortable where you are. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And take a deep breath with me. We acknowledge in this sanctuary the very presence of God that is everywhere present. No matter where we are, God is. And I am the expression of the God. We've gathered together to celebrate the truth that we know, to strengthen our roots so that we can be grounded no matter where we are, and to share the love that we have for one another. So I know that there is a divine appointment. You are here with divine purpose. And so whatever it is that will happen today, whether the songs or the message or just having an opportunity to talk to someone else, I know that there is something here for you that will renew you and refresh you and give you the strength that you need to continue to go on. We are grateful for the truth that we know, that right here, right now, where we are is holy, sacred ground, and that we are the love that harmonizes all things. So thank you, God. Thank you for this awareness. Thank you for this truth. And for the power that has been endowed in us to reflect it out into the world. So take a deep breath. Release that and allow your mind and your heart to be centered in God in this very present moment. And so it is. So I invite you to say with me our affirmation of oneness. There is one power and one presence in the universe and in my life. God the good, all-powerful, all-knowing, everywhere present, right here, right now, God. Namaste.
Come into the quiet, come in from the storm, to a place where time stands still, the spirit is reborn. Come into the quiet, take your place among the stars. Come into this place, come as you are.
Good morning, and happy Valentine's Day to this wonderful, wonderful love month. So now is the time in our service for our meditation. That time for us just to remember the truth of our being. So I invite each one of you to become very comfortable in your chairs. And always remember, when your mind gets very active, return back to your breath, that sacred breathing. I invite you to sit comfortably in a way that allows you to feel both alert and relaxed. Close your outside eyes and open your inside eyes to explore that sacred inner presence of our being. With each breath you take, consciously enter your body temple, giving your body any healing energy that it might need or want. Surrender your thinking and focus on your breathing again and again, inviting this delicious moment of truth. Meditation is a principle that allows our consciousness to expand, explore, waking up with a renewed awareness, with curiosity and ease. Right in front of you is this beautiful, beautiful building calling to you to enter. As you enter, you experience a light within your soul. You recognize this building is a house of your consciousness, your inner awareness. This lower floor feels dark and close to the outside realm. So you go over to the elevator and you choose the top floor, the garden level. As you walk out on the garden level, there is a feeling of peace and ease. Your eyes are seeing clearly with a new, vibrant awareness of your spirit, your indwelling divinity. With this expanded awareness, you just stop to listen. Listen to what areas in your life that need some peace, ease, clarity, shining the truth of your being. Surrender anything right now that limits you. Affirm you are an unlimited in every single area of your life. This is your birthright. You are filled with gratitude in this expansive consciousness of inner light. In the silence now, just listen. Listen to what Spirit is whispering to you in this moment. Just listen. Now gradually return your focus to this outside sanctuary, experiencing the renewal of everyone that is present, and honoring our collective wholeness. Always remember, at any time, you can take a pause and expand that consciousness of being. So with renewal of divine substance, you are truly whole. And now you know what is yours to do. So with a nice cleansing breath, we return to this present moment. Namaste.
Well, I guess it was meant to be sung Acapulco. You got to be ready for everything, don't you? Just be ready for everything. What is in divine order all the time. So, I really struggle with this talk this week because it's part of the series. It's the next lesson in the series, but it's about grieving. And I said, oh my gosh, we're in this love place, and it's about grieving. But the more that I allowed Spirit to work through me to put this together, the more I realized this is the absolute perfect message that we need today. So last week we started talking about our new series that is based on the book See No Strangers by Valerie Carr. And in that, as she talks, it's a memoir, one of her memoirs, a story, but it's also about a manifesto of revolutionary love. And her definition of revolutionary love is a little different than we're accustomed to. We're kind of accustomed to the fuzzy kind of, emotional love. But no, hers is a love that is like a sweet labor. And it is fierce, and it is bloody, and it's imperfect, and yet it is life-giving. And because it is life-giving, we make that choice over and over and over again. Because we're aiming to perfect it. Is life-giving. It is who we are. We are love. We come from love, and that's our nature. And so when we're able to express it, we feel authentic. We are where we're supposed to be. So part one of that book is it really focuses on how to love others. And it begins by sharing with us how to use the practice of wonder. Remember we talked about last week? And we begin to wonder about each other for the aim of realizing that you are a part of me that I yet do not know. Then it opens up the space to get to know others rather than keep them at arm's length. And last week I asked you to do a little exercise during the week. How many of you did it? Yes, it was a little bit challenging for me to just go to the supermarket and see someone that I didn't know and become real focused and saying, you are a part of me that I yet do not know. You are a part of me that I do not know yet. And something happened to me. My heart softened a little bit. It had a desire to be able to know someone a little bit more. So I had an experience in a supermarket where one of the mothers was with a little girl in one of those big carts, that they drive around. And the mother looked exhausted. She looked like she's had quite a day. And the little girl was super energized, like all over the place. And the mother kept trying to take things out of the cart and put it on the conveyor belt. And the little girl wanted the candy that was on the side, and pulling it out, and the mother putting it back. And I realized, I said, she's a part of me I do not yet know. So I asked her, can I help you with the groceries to put them on the conveyor belt? And she says, oh, that is so lovely, but I got it. So then I decided I got to play the role of playing with the little girl. And it was so much fun. And it took away some of that tiredness and frustration that she was feeling. So sometimes just a little bit of wonder helps to extend yourself. And once we start to wonder about someone and we get to hear their story, we get to know them a little better. And when we do, they're no longer a stranger. We welcome them into our circle of care. So part 1 of this book explores ways to love others with the compassion of Buddha and with the heart of Jesus and the awareness of the Africa Ubuntu. I am because you are. And the ancient Sanskrit wisdom of oneness. All of these are unity movement embraces. You are part of me I yet do not know. So today we're going to move into exploring how to be brave with our grief when we are with others. You see, Carr defines grief in this manner. She says, loving someone the wrong one? Oh, okay, well then I'll just read it to you. The practice of, that grief is the practice of feeling the pain of loss. And it could be, the loss manifests itself in a lot of ways, not just the loss of a body, but a loss of our health, loss of a loved one, a loss of our job. And to be with someone when they're experiencing that is part of revolutionary love. And she goes on to say that loving someone also means grieving with them. Not just to know them, but to grieve with them when they're going through those difficult times. It means letting their pain, I love this, letting their pain and loss bleed into your own heart. Wow. And when you see that pain coming, you may want to put up the guardrails. Like, yeah, well, no, I don't want it. It's too hard. And you want to sound the alarm. You want to raise the flag, I give up. But you must keep the borders of your heart porous when you love someone. How many of you have ever been with someone who is grieving? Yeah. Nothing to fix, nothing to do. Just allowing your heart to be porous. And how does that feel? Well, think of someone right now that's very loving to you, someone that you love dearly. Think of that person right now. And if that person were going through a lot of loss pain, the pain of loss, can you imagine them sharing that with you, and what would your heart feel like? It's that opening space that allows the pain to bleed into your own heart. And you become one in that. There's nothing to really do We think that there's something we must do for the other. But really what you are doing, there's only carrying. You're carrying it and helping one another carry it. You see, grieving is not something that we just survive and overcome. It's an ongoing journey. It's an act of transformation. And when we are brave with our grief, it deepens our understanding of the world and ourselves. It deepens our capacity to love. So as hard as it seems sometimes to be broken open, it's almost like that's what it feels like. It is the love in action that is being demonstrated by being with someone. Not judgmental, not trying to fix it. Just allowing your heart and their heart to become one. And you know what? You don't need to know someone in order to grieve with them. You don't. We grieve with them in order to know them. That's why we grieve with them. The shared grieving creates a sense of oneness, of solidarity. And Carr says that our solidarity is only as deep as our ability to love one another. And our ability to love one another is only as deep as our ability to weep with one another. That's pretty powerful. So Carr learned to be brave with her grief. Moments after the 9/11 horror happened, you all remember that, right? She says that moments after watching those Twin Towers come crashing down over and over again on her TV screen, there appeared an image of a man with a black beard and a turban. And she realized almost immediately that the nation's new enemy looked like her family. You see, she's Sikh. Remember we talked about that last week? She's the Sikh faith. And in the Sikh tradition, they wear these articles of faith as a sign to show that they are committed to peace and to justice. And one of those signs is uncut hair. They keep their hair long. And they tie it up, usually put it right here where the crown chakra is at, and they wear it, and they put a turban over it. And it was interesting to me that the very thing that was a symbol for them of their commitment for peace and justice became the very symbol that marked them as terrorists. Because no one wondered. If you don't wonder, if you don't know about others, it's so easy to judge and categorize and put them in different, you are them, you're not one of us. So the violence that occurred after 9/11 was almost instant. Muslims and Sikhs and Hindus and Arabs and all that were deemed other, became the target they were being persecuted because we were frightened as a nation and we had become reactionary. We didn't pause. We just went into this reactionary response. And when we don't wonder, you see, when we don't wonder about each other, when we don't take that pause to get to know each other, understand that we are all a reflection of God. We're all children of God, looking different, having different paths. We cannot grasp that. We won't learn how to understand each other, and we won't learn how to appreciate the beauty that we are. So 4 days after 9/11, Carr receives a phone call. And now this story really kind of hit me, so I want to share it with you. She receives a phone call from a friend who lives in Phoenix to tell her that her beloved uncle, Balbir, had been killed by a gunman in a pickup truck. And Balbir all he was doing was planting flowers in front of his gas station. And he was the first of dozens and dozens that had been killed. And the stories were barely mentioned in the news. And Car's heart broke open. She grieved the senseless loss of her beloved Balbir and others. And she didn't know what to do. You know how sometimes you feel so helpless? What do we do? What do we do? There's like a call of action that rises in some of us, and we don't know quite what to do. The activity of the Holy Spirit is moving us, yet we don't know what quite to do. And so she decided that what she would do, she felt almost compelled to document what was happening as a way of intervening in what was happening. Because she really believed that documentation determines which atrocities are remembered and which are forgotten, whose lives are deemed grievable and whose are disposable, and whether the rest of the world will intervene. So she was 20. She was in Stanford University, a junior, ready to travel to India to do her thesis, honors thesis, and of course everything was canceled because it was too dangerous to travel. So at 20, she picked up her camcorder, you know, remember those? The big old things. She picked up a camcorder and she got into her little Honda Civic with her cousin, who was just as young. And they decided that they were going to drive all across America following the news of the different crimes that were popping up in her emails. You know, she was getting notifications. So she went. I mean, what bravery is that? She went in the thick of the mourning of the nation, in the heat of nationalistic fervor, and she went out and she interviewed different victims of hate crimes. She interviewed their families and the community members. She said that most of the people that were targeted were the Sikhs because they wore the turban. So she documented, I can't tell you, countless. In the book, she only shares a few. And she says that she was learning how to witness emotions without getting overwhelmed by them. When I wanted to shut myself down, she says, I tried again to wonder about that person in front of me, and I would ask the next question, trying to keep my heart porous. I have to tell you that as I read every story, I found myself in tears. It was what we do to one another when we don't know each other, when we can't see ourselves, the other as a part of us. I was really moved to tears. And I realized that I was witnessing their grief. In this case, I was reading it, but I was a witness to it. So many times we grieve with no one witnessing it, and we're alone. And that witnessing, that being able to really be with it, even if you're just reading it, is the first step in shared grief. Carr understood something that most of you probably understand as well. He understood the healing power of the shared grief unfolds when we're together. So Carr decided to dig more into her beloved Balbir uncle's story. She decided to document his life and his death and the loss, what that meant to the community and to the family. And she concluded by going to India because his wife had come to Phoenix to be part of the memorial service. And then quickly she had returned to her country. So she feels that this story is not finished until I talk to the wife, Georginder Auntie. And so she travels to India. And when they get there and they open the door, they hug each other and they cry with one another, offering the only kind of offering that you can offer at such times like this. You know how you say, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. So She hugged them and stayed together for a long time, just crying and hugging, acknowledging the loss, but also conveying, you don't have to do this alone. You're not alone. And as she was doing that, and Carr, kind of sat down, Georginda went to get her some tea, she started to kind of begin to pay attention to the place within herself where the pain felt like a big hole, like an open wound. And she turns to Georginda and she says to her, I have one question for you. What would you like to tell the people of America? Now, Carr expected Georginda to respond with anger and with bitterness, because that's what she was feeling. She was angry, she was bitter, she had seen all this unnecessary loss of life. But Georginda, she wiped her eyes and she said, I can never forget the love they showed me. I can never forget their love. They did as much as they could for me. They gave me so much love. I had no friends or community there. But everyone gathered together, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, and everyone was crying with me. There are moments in life where the illusion of separation kind of fades away. And we glimpse each other as we truly are. One, a child of God. Sometimes those moments are the very moments that we should take an opportunity, but we get distracted. So Carl wondered, well, how come so many people came to grieve with Georginda and the members of the Balbir community, while in other places, hate crimes that were just as horrific around the country, the people there were left to grieve on their own. And the difference is that the place of worship where Balbir belonged, the leaders of that community immediately grasped what was happening and took action right after 9/11. They began an expansive campaign to introduce and explain what their faith is to the larger community. And they were hoping that in offering that, in explaining and in trying to get you to understand, that it would prevent misunderstanding and violence against them. And then when that happened, after Balbir's death, they didn't stop. They knew there was more to do. So they decided, the Sikh faith leaders, they worked around the clock to tell the story. The story, the power is in the story. So they went around the clock to tell the story. They went and told reporters of the basics of the Sikh faith. And they shared Balbir's personal story. And they invited local interfaith network churches, mosques and synagogues to show up and pray with them and grieve with them. It was an open invitation. Come, know about us. We are committed to peace and we are committed to justice. Pray with us as we grieve the loss of one of our beloved. And the effort paid off because about 3,000 people came to Balbir's memorial service. And they prayed together and they cried together. And they resolved to come together against hate. The outpouring of love was enough, that outpouring was enough to change Georginda's experience of losing her husband. She bore the pain, but she knew she didn't have to bear it alone. She shared it with the people that she had never met before. She said, they didn't even know me, but they cried with me. So Balbir's story has sparked wonder in the American community, the Sikh American community. And wonder is what drew them close to the wife and the family and that community there, and shared with them their grief. And grieving with them was just another step in trying to understand them. How do they do it? What do they need? How can I just be here with them? See, nothing could bring back Jojinder's husband, but that communal grieving made it possible for her to breathe and learn to live with her wound without allowing the pain to create another division between us and them. When my Danny transitioned and he was 11, that helped me to have my neighbors come together, my church people come together. And though I could not really connect with them, I was in my pain, I had comfort that they were there. You don't need to know someone in order to grieve with them. You don't. And I'm all out of the order of this thing here. Okay, but that's okay. You don't need to know them, and you grieve with them because that's the way you will get to know them. You see, we're living in this unprecedented times where grief is at its maximum in our world. Much of it is due to the global pandemic, the racial uprising for justice, economic pain. I could go on and on. Why we are grieving as a nation. Right here in Citrus County, I have encountered people that are carrying an enormous grief. And they carry it quietly, and they carry it alone. So wondering about the people in our lives and the people in our community also means that we need to find a way to extend ourselves to grieve with them. And it feels uncomfortable. But that's what revolutionary love is like. Sweet labor, hard and messy, but life-giving. When we become those agents of revolutionary love, we come together and we help to create a kinder and more gentle world. Something that we all want. Because when we grieve together, our hearts are broken open. There's not a you and a me, an us and a them. There's just heart-to-heart connections. Do you remember, those of you that have been in this church for a long time, in 2016, the Orlando gay nightclub incident? You remember that? Yeah, I remember that. Reverend Marcia was a minister here, and I remember that she opened the doors of this church to the entire community so that we can grieve together. And the church was packed. How many of you were here that day? It was packed. We weren't sure if anyone would come. And what a revelation that was, to see that we offered. Unity of Citrus did this. And now there is still grief. I grieve when I think about my black brothers and sisters whose cry for the lost of a loved one echoes all over the world. I grieve that. My very own grandchildren are half black. I grieve for their safety. And I find myself not being able to open these doors to say, come, let's grieve together. So we're in a challenging time. How do we do this? How do we extend each other, ourselves, to grieve with others? How do we do that? Oh, so much suffering. Well, we do the best that we know how. I know for me, it was writing letters to the congressman. It was engaging in courageous conversations with some people who really let me know. And I need to open my heart and know. I remember having a conversation with someone. I said, tell me about you. She goes, no, it's not my job to tell you about me. It's your job. And it's true. I had these courageous conversations with other ministers. And I long to be open the day when I can open these doors and say, welcome, let us grieve together. For you are not alone. You are not alone. So, this is what love your neighbor looks like. You love your neighbor by putting it into action. Carr says, oh, wrong tree. Well, maybe it's not even there. Okay, I'm not playing with this anymore. So Carr says, some forms of grief are impossible to bear alone. They just are. In the wake of trauma, when it feels like we are thrown into a hole, we need to be able to tell the story of what happened. We need a witness. In order for us to return to a sense of community, we must be able to say, this was wrong, and it should not happen ever again. So telling the story is the prerequisite of justice. But for the story to even matter, there must be someone that we trust to witness it. Because you could tell the story, and if it doesn't matter to the person you're telling it to, it gets lost. So I've been wondering, what would it look like if we, as a church, took time to grieve together? We've been holding a lot, almost a whole year. What would that look like? What would it look like if we did it with the community? And what would it look like if we did it together as a nation? And I started to wonder, what would we be willing to do? So I wrote that I would be willing, and perhaps this would be yours as well, I would be willing to witness the grief of others without trying to control or minimize it. How many of you would be willing to do that? Yeah, you're not trying to control it, you're not trying to minimize it, you're willing to just witness it. I am willing to listen and continue listening and continue listening and continue listening until the pain and the loss bleeds also into my heart. I'm willing to acknowledge our pain, our grief, and our exhaustion. Because, it is exhausting. It's going to sound weird, but I'm going to tell you, you don't have to be empathetic all the time. It can be exhausting, truly. It's important that we take a break from it. But these are big things that didn't happen overnight. It'll take time to heal. So sometimes you have to just step away a little bit. Take time to rejuvenate yourself, to heal and to breathe so that you can continue to love well, to continue to be an agent of a revolutionary love. Carr said that if we can be present to pain, if we sit together in the rooms of the heart, the curtains drawn down, and grieve together, then we can begin to ask, how can I support you? How can I take action for you? This past week, Joe and I visited Shalom Park in Ocala. Beautiful park. If you haven't seen it, you should want to go and visit it. And I always get signs from nature or signs from the universe that tell me you're on the right track. And so I took this picture while visiting Shalom Park. This is a tree. Oh, Sharon, can you get me up there? Okay, thank you. She's going to get it for me. This is a tree that is called the Wounded Heart Tree. And I took the picture because we carry that wound. You know, all of us, even the greatest among us, has been wounded. But unlike the tree that is exposing its wounds, most of us want to cover it up. Because we feel, you know, that we will be judged. We feel no one really cares. It doesn't matter to someone else. I don't know if I could trust them. But when we find someone, a community, a loving, healing, accepting community, when we find that, we begin to feel safe. That's what we want to do. To create in here that safety where we can feel safe showing our wounds to one another and grieving with one another. And then we can begin to understand each other even more. And when we understand, we know more of each other, that we know how to love each other. You know, the scars on that tree remain. They're still there. But it's standing strong and the roots are deep. It's really grounded. Same with us. The scars, the wounds of the experiences of our life that have hurt us, they will remain. But like that tree, we can become stronger. We really can. And we can grow more into the authentic self that we are. And we can become more grounded in the truth that we know. And then we can continue the practice of revolutionary love, picking ourselves up again and doing it over and over again. And that's brave grief. That's being brave with grief. Think it inside yourself, how you're feeling it, where you're feeling it, and have a willingness to open the wound and let someone else love you and know you, appreciate you. You are all here with inherent worth, a magnificent expression of God, worthy to belong, all of us. So I thought about, should I give you homework this week? And the only thing that came to me was maybe the thought of this week should be to be brave with your own grief. Find where it feels, where you're feeling it in your body. Where is the hole? Where is it? And if you're brave enough, find someone to share your story, so that together, that person can allow your pain bleed into their heart, and two hearts become one. Namaste.
I tried to hide the cracks within my soul. God forbid that you should see what no one else should know. Day by day it wore me down, this aching pain inside. it's from the shattered pieces of a life tattered and torn. Something lovely rises up, and I have been reborn. Day by day I wake to someone I have never seen. Who'd have guessed that I could ever love someone like me? Beautiful brokenness, love will always win. Beautiful brokenness, that's how the light. Yes, out here in the out here in the open, I have freed my soul. Somehow being broken has made me whole. Beautiful brokenness, love will always win. Beautiful brokenness, that's how the light gets
Thank you, Reverend Luz, for your message. So it's that time in our service now to give our gifts and our tithes and our offerings. We are so grateful to all of you who are here with us and are also watching us. Your tithes and gifts are greatly needed and help support our community and what we do, love in action. So please take your gifts in your hand and affirm your offering blessing with me. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have and all that I give and all that I receive. I send forth this gift with my blessings and my love. And we already just envision and are so grateful for all the abundance that we see in this community and being the love and action in our world and in our universe. And so it is. Thank you. So I hope that everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day. What a perfect time to continue wondering and sharing our love. So now, our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So again, please stay in your seats. And I know Reverend Luce has a few other words. No more assignments, though.
Next week, I promise, no homework. So just real quick announcements. We do the announcements at the end of the service. I just want to remind you that Mary McGee is going to start a class Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Keep it true Lent. It'll be here and possibly out there. Yeah, we'll go with the flow, you know. And then I have one more slot available in my book study for See No Strangers. So if anybody's interested in that, just go to the website and register. You can do that there. And there is some, you're getting a little gift from us today. We're giving you the little Lent devotional books because Wednesday starts Lent, a time of releasing and letting go. So I bless you and love you and thank you for being here with us today. It was delightful to be with you. And when you go out today, continue to wonder, as Annie says, maybe who knows, there may be someone that you can sit with. But anyway, I love you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Everybody look forward to seeing you. I'm going to make my little way out here, and the ushers will dismiss you in just a few moments. Okay.
I've tried to hide the cracks within my soul. God forbid that you should see what no one else should know. Day by day it wore me down, this aching pain inside. I had no choice but to set free.